Okay, great. Good morning. My name is Janet Ng, Hearing Officer for San Francisco Public Works. Nathan Rodas is the clerk of the hearing this morning. This hearing is being recorded via Zoom and will be available afterward through a link on the San Francisco Public Works website, sfpublicworks.org. As this is a virtual hearing, there is no sign-in sheet. So if you would like to receive information about the results of this hearing, please send an email to the email address listed on the hearing notice. This public hearing is being held to consider two items. Order number 207535 to consider notice of violation 20293. The violation is improper housekeeping, Article 15, Section 724.4A at 1600 Tennessee Street. And order number 207536 to consider notice of violation 21136. The violation is for willful noncompliance, Article 15, Section 724.6, and no 4-foot path of travel, Article 15, Section 724A2 at 5030 3rd Street. So my job as the hearing officer is to gather the facts for the hearing item, listen to your testimony, and help our Director of Public Works make determinations. I will not be making any decisions today. Instead, I will forward the findings from this hearing and make my recommendations to the director. The director will make the final determinations. When the director's determinations are made, the department will notify you of the item you're here for and in which the provided information you have given. So the hearing will proceed as follows for the two cases. I will ask Public Works staff to speak first and present the case. Then I will allow the property owner or appellant to speak. Then any member of the public or witness who wants to speak, then the department, if the department would like to address any comments, and then the property owner or appellant, again, if the person has any rebuttals. Each speaker will have up to 3 minutes to speak. The clerk will monitor the time for all speakers and will indicate when the speaker has 30 seconds left. If you are a party to this proceeding, I will call on you to speak. If you would like to use visual materials in your presentation, please let me know before you speak. You will then have the standard 3 minutes to provide your comments. If you are a member of the public or witness who wants to speak, wait for me to call for public comments, then use Zoom's raise your hand feature if you're on a computer to put yourself in the queue to speak. If you are dialing in on your phone, dial *9 to indicate you're raising your hand. When it is your turn to speak, I will recognize you. If on your phone and you're muted, press *6 to unmute yourself. If you'd like to use visual materials in your presentation, please let me know before you speak. You will have the standard 3 minutes to provide your comments. Comments and questions should be addressed to me and not to the department or to the applicant. If you cannot finish your comments within the allotted time, you may submit written testimony to me by the end of this hearing. If I feel that questions are warranted, I will ask questions. After all comments are completed, I will close the item. So let's go ahead and begin the hearing. At this time, we will open the hearing to public comments. Members of the public may make comments on matters that are within the department's jurisdiction, but not on today's agenda. So are there any public comments at this time? Okay, if there are no more comments on this item, I will close this item. This item is now closed. So let's go ahead with the first item on the agenda. That is order number 207535. May I have Public Works?
Good morning. My name is Jessica Salami. I'll be presenting on behalf of the department for order number 207535, location of 1600 Tennessee Street. Next slide, Christina. On Tuesday, November 29th, 2022, around 2:30, an inspector responded to a complaint regarding the container placed in the street at 1600 Tennessee Street. Upon arrival, the inspector found a debris box in the right-of-way with missing reflectors and striping and covered in graffiti. The inspector then issued notice of violation 20293 to Citywide Debris Box for improper housekeeping, graffiti, and missing reflectors for a total penalty of $200. After review by the inspection supervisors, the $100 fee for missing reflectors was waived and the invoice was adjusted to a final penalty of $100. Next slide. This is the appeal letter from Citywide. Next slide. Copy of the notice of violation. And photos of the actual debris box on site covered in graffiti. Copy of the original invoice showing the two $100, but it's been since reflected to show $100 for the graffiti only. Next slide. Regulations from our debris box permits, rules and regulations regarding reflectors. Next slide. And that is it.
Okay, thank you. May I have the appellant or property owner?
Hello,
Hello, we can hear you.
okay. Well, I'm disputing our boxes go out clean and without graffiti. I mean, we do not put graffiti on the boxes ourselves. I don't feel it's our obligation to pay a fine when we're not putting the graffiti on the box. You have people out there running around painting boxes. That's not what we do. We want our boxes to go out looking clean and professional. As you can see, we have reflectors and we have our permits on there. We abide by your rules, but we cannot enforce people running around the streets graffitiing things. So I don't feel like we should be penalized for graffiti that we do. We have to clean up the graffiti regardless. I noticed that London Breed has a new program where she's out cleaning houses and people's businesses. Can we have them clean our debris boxes of vandalism and graffiti? That's what I have to say.
Okay, thank you. Just some questions. How long has the graffiti been on this box? Is it fairly new or has it been there for a while?
It's new. We send our boxes out clean.
Okay, I understand there is an ordinance that requires graffiti to be removed within 24 hours. I guess maybe someone from Public Works can correct me if I'm wrong.
Well, can I pause you for a minute?
Okay,
What are we supposed to do? Remove the box from the customer, bring it to our warehouse, remove the graffiti and then bring it back to them? We're not the people graffitiing the boxes.
okay, I understand that.
So I don't know how you want us to go out there with a spray can and paint over the boxes. I'm not sure what the remedy to this issue is.
Okay, thank you. Again, can someone from Public Works maybe clarify that, the graffiti and when it must be removed?
Yes, graffiti is required to be removed within 24 hours per the code.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I don't have any further questions. Does anyone have any other comments on this item? Okay, thank you. If there are no further comments, this item is closed. Let's move on to the next item. Order number 207536. May I have Public Works?
1 second to get the slide is up. The Public Works order number 207536, location of 5030 3rd Street. Next slide, Christina, please. On Monday, July 18th, 2022, around 11 a.m., an inspector responded to a complaint regarding construction work on the sidewalk at 5030 3rd Street. Upon arrival, the inspector found an adequate path of travel was provided and no visible Public Works permits. The inspector then issued correction notice number 21133 to the property owner to obtain a Public Works permit and provide a 4-foot path of travel within 24 hours. On Tuesday, July 26th, around 1 p.m., a follow-up inspection was performed and the issues were not resolved. The inspector then issued notice of violation number 21136 for willful noncompliance and no 4-foot path of travel at $2,000. Applications for a street improvement and a minor sidewalk encroachment permit were submitted on December 15th, 2022. Next slide, please. This is the appeal letter from what I believe is the property owner or contractor. A copy of the correction notice and notice of violation. And the path of travel photos that were inadequate. There's tripping hazards, it's all uneven and raised. And jogs out all around, zigzags. Copy of the notice posted on the building itself. Next slide, please. You can see it in both of the photos that there's tripping hazards in both the left photo and the right photo, which cause inadequate path of travel. Path of travel should be seamless and smooth transition. This is the original photos from 7/26. Permit database showing that the permit's still in accounting status that were applied for. Next slide, please. This is the building department's permit tracking system showing that there were in October, the permit was put on hold for an application to be submitted for a minor sidewalk permit and a street improvement permit for work over the sub sidewalk basement. Next slide, please. It's the invoice for the violations totaling at $2,000. I'm done.
Okay, thank you. May I have the appellant or the property owner?
Do you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. Hey, so some background here. So we have had a squatter in the basement that we worked through an eviction process for over 2 years. And the basement goes under the sidewalk. It's one of those basements where you can bring deliveries in through a panel on the sidewalk. The squatter broke in from the building in the back, got into the basement, and was illegally connecting some fiber network through the sidewalk to the point where they damaged it very badly. He hired a company called Zayo to do the installation. Actually, I should say she hired a company called Zayo to do the install and posed as the owner of the building fraudulently. We're going through a separate lawsuit with that. And if you want to Google this person's name, it's Lady Benjamin Cannon. You'll see that the case was resolved in the middle of November of 22. It took a long time because of COVID and squatting issues and all that stuff. But we did get a notice in March of 22 from O'Riordan, just saying, hey, the sidewalk needed to be repaired and you have 60 days to repair it. So we immediately filed for a permit. I hired an engineer and a architect who had works with the city on these things. And we put plans into place May 9th. So within a month, we did meet with O'Riordan and just said, hey, this is going to take longer getting the permits approved than the 60 days. And he said, oh, don't worry about it. There will be no penalties, no fees on this thing until it got issued. So we submitted all the paperwork, all the details, and it had to go through 8 different departments to get approved. And, you know, it's typical that these things take a long time in the city. So we had been waiting, and back in the middle of July, this tenant who was squatting was damaging the sidewalk even more and making it even more dangerous to the point where you couldn't even walk on it. So we went ahead and made the sidewalk safer by putting the planks in and the barriers in so that no one would fall through the cracks of the sidewalk that they were damaging. I mean, this is a $90,000 project. It is a big project that we're doing, and it's getting all approved by the city. We're almost done. But when these pictures were taken, that barrier was moved, it looks like it was moved from the side of the wall of the building to the middle of the walkway to make it narrower. The guy who does the construction is an expert at this, and that's all he does. He does sidewalk concrete work. He put the things to make it work. We did not get a permit to do this part of the work because we felt we needed to do something to make it safer more immediately while we got the permit. So we are just waiting for the final permit from Randall Dennis and that whole crew to get it all done. And we're just waiting, and I'm asking that this $2,000 penalty be waived because these pictures are a little bit misleading. That one wall that is in the middle was moved by the squatter to make it look bad. And that complaint came in from the squatter, who, by the way, the squatter was the electrician in the ghost ship fire in Oakland who squatted here. And we just got him out. It was a big ordeal. I could send in all kinds of paperwork if you'd like, but I really need to get this $2,000 extra fee waived. I already paid over $7,000 in other city permit fees and, you know, tens of $1,000s for architects, engineers, and for the work to be done. So I'm asking that this be waived.
Okay, thank you. Just a few questions. So you mentioned you had a contractor put these barriers and barricades and things up,
Yes.
and I'm assuming they're licensed.
Yes, he's a licensed contractor, certified by the city. He does all kinds of work with the city. I went with somebody the city even recommended. They gave me a list and I went with the top guy.
Okay, I mean, do you know or have confirmation that the barrier was moved by the squatter?
Well, when I first saw it, it was that barrier wall that's right in the middle on the top right was against the building. So that wall, that barrier should be against the building. There shouldn't be like a 2-foot gap between the building and that orange barrier on the right. So that's a little bit misleading. And it looks lumpy there, but it's, and I've got a guy who goes there every week and does the maintenance and all that stuff and just make sure it's all in order. And the tenants keep track of it as well. And they call, there's a property manager who's involved as well. But yeah, it's a licensed contractor, licensed architects. Pantaleone is the architectural firm. You guys probably know him. O'Connor is the O'Connor Concrete, and Sean Malloy are the concrete guys. But yeah, and I did speak with O'Riordan. He's a different department in the city that issued the fix-it work. And we jumped right on it and hired the right guys to get it done. But when the squatters started damaging the sidewalk more, we're like, hey, we can't have, you know, people walk on this until it gets done. We had to put in this walkway and put in wood on the top of it so that it's you know, it's safer. So we actually made it safer, you know, to get it done. And I actually thought the permit would get approved sooner, but it's taken 8 or 9 months. It just, you know, one thing after another and one department after another that has to sign off on it. So we're there. You can talk to Randall Dennis in that group and see where it stands, but you could actually look up the permit for 5033rd Street and see that the dates I mentioned are all accurate. You know, the citation was first issued in March. We met in April with O'Riordan, and in May, we actually applied for the full permits and then submitted additional details and requirements later, but it's all there. I hope that
Okay.
helps.
Okay, yeah, thanks for that. Another few questions. So for the sidewalk, it sounds like the other fiber optic company, Zayo, was damaging the sidewalk, or what's causing damage to the sidewalk?
The damage to the sidewalk is coming from inside the basement from the squatter. So they were down there poking holes in the basement, in the ceiling of the sidewalk, creating damage on the sidewalk. They wanted to create an entryway to come in from the sidewalk and make it a separate entrance because we blocked the entrance from the retail store.
Okay,
And all the eviction stuff there, Janet, is there. If you want to, I could send you an email with, you know, all the documentation, but it's, you know, Lady Benjamin Cannon versus Jadala, my last name. And you'll see that, you know, Daniel Bornstein worked on this for 2 years, going back and forth. And, you know, finally getting the eviction done in the middle of October. I'm in the middle of November.
Okay. And so work is not going on a daily basis, it sounds like.
No,
Is
we
that
are just
correct?
waiting. We put this in place in July because we needed to make it safer so that somebody wouldn't break their ankle or, fall in through one of the holes. And we thought, we'd get the permit approved before winter, and it should be any day now. But Rosalind Dennis is the guy's name who has the final approval.
Okay. Just a few more questions. So has this barricade or this walkway been repaired since, or what's the status here?
Yeah, we continually move make sure it's, there's more than a 4-foot gap in there for somebody to go through with a wheelchair if needed, or walk through, or 2 people passing. But this picture it's a little misleading. It's not like this all the time. That one, orange barrier goes against the building and the other barrier goes, closer to the street. So you've got a big gap in there. A big walkway, I mean. It's not a gap, it's an actual walkway. It's plenty of room.
Okay. So,
And
I mean,
the main point, Janet, we did this to make it safer. And
Right.
The permit stuff is all underway. I'm just caught in the middle here of having to, make a decision to make it safer, or just let it wait until I got the formal permit to get the sidewalk fixed. And we said, let's put in some wood here and put in and cover it and put the barrier in to make it an easier walkway and safer.
okay. So Zayo didn't do any damage to the sidewalk here. It's all the tenant.
The tenant did a lot, and Zayo actually did on behalf of the tenant. The tenant hired Zayo, and there's a lawsuit going on now between Zayo and Lady Benjamin Cannon, or Cannon's company called 6x7 Networks. So if you look up Zayo and 6x7, you'll see that there's a major lawsuit going on between those two.
Okay, so it sounds like the tenant and also Zayo damaged the sidewalk here.
Yeah. But I'm responsible for it, so I have to take charge and fix it. But the tenant is gone. They've been evicted. Zayo is in Denver, Colorado headquarters. I'm just working, to get this all done now. And
Okay.
trying to recoup some money from Zayo if I can.
Okay, so again, so the barricade, the walkway, everything has been repaired?
Yeah, not yet. No, we were waiting for the final approval for the sidewalk to be repaired. This woodwork and the orange barriers were put there to make it safer rather than walking on a very unstable sidewalk, which the tenant damaged.
Okay, sure. But so the orange barricade, that's all been brought up to code?
Yeah, I mean, if you go there now, or as of last weekend, I went, and that barrier is on the left side. It's against the building.
Okay, how about the unevenness? I heard there were some uneven areas.
Well, the unevenness is there because we needed overlap on the wood just to make sure that it's covered. So, we tried to make it as even as possible, but it is a little bit, uneven, but a wheelchair can get through. You can easily walk on it. And, when it's all done, as soon as we get this permit, within a week, it'll all be one big smooth sidewalk with the metal openings to get into the basement.
Okay,
Yeah, this is actually, I found out from my insurance company that this is actually city property, not building property. So I'm responsible for it either way.
okay. I have no further questions. Does anyone have any other additional comments? Okay, then I will close this item.
Sorry, I was
sorry.
on mute.
Okay, go ahead.
Under 706 of the Public Works Code, it is the fronting property owner's responsibility to maintain the sidewalks. And
Okay.
under Article 724, you're not allowed to have any tripping hazards. Anything over a quarter to a half an inch is constituted as a tripping hazard. As you can see in the photos, the plywood itself is probably 1.125 plywood. And with them overlapping, it creates a tripping hazard. On the left photo on the bottom, you can see there's no cut back and there's barely any bevel to that plywood.
Okay, thank you for the clarification. Are there any other additional comments?
Janet, I know Charlie has spoken already, but he's raising his hand again. Did you want him to speak again?
Let's see. Yeah, let's go ahead. We have a little bit of time, but this is the last round. Charlie, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to clarify, this is a temporary fix. I know it's not perfect. And it's not perfectly smooth, but it's the best we can do and it's safer than before. We needed thick plywood because there's a drop between the sidewalk and the basement that's about 9 or 10 feet. So there's holes in there that the tenant, the squatter damaged, and you know, we did the best we could to get it done, and it's safer than before. I just have to clarify that. And if we had gotten the permit sooner, we would have done this sooner. It's just the permit process in San Francisco is like, it's been 8 or 9 months and it's just so slow. And that's why I talked to O'Riordan and met him in person and talked to him on the phone a couple times, just reaffirming, don't worry, you're not going to get charged that $250 a day, you know, charge it if you don't fix the sidewalk. We're on this, believe me. Thanks, Janet. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Okay, if there are no further comments, then I will close this item as well. Are there any other additional public comments on any of the items on the agenda? So if you have spoken, you will not be allowed to speak again. So this is just for anyone who has come in late or was on mute. Okay, if there are no further comments, I am closing this hearing. Thank you, everyone. The hearing is now closed.